Welcome to the Saturday Slam and Jam here on the Athletic NBA Daily. On today's show, we're joined by our guy Sam Vecenie to discuss the NBA draft, players to watch in the tournament, and then we're going to do a little bit of trivia. With me, as always, is Alex Speers, and we got Sam Vecenie in the house. Sam, what's up?
You know, when we did this right around this time last year, I don't think anybody could have guessed that future first-round pick Dillon Jones would make an absolute mockery of basketball, playing as a permanent sub. This isn't even a position on the court. What are we doing?
It is something that I am so obsessed with. Like, I have not, once I saw him doing it and having no clue what was happening, by the way, while I'm sitting in the arena saying, like, one, why is Dillon Jones checking into the game in this very important game against Denver? And then two, he's not even going in the game. And then hearing Mark talk about it post game, saying that he's a permanent sub and explaining what it was.
Like it's a thing that people just know.
Right. No, it's one of my favorite things in a very long time. It's so funny. I'm so glad you brought it up. It's so
genuinely funny. It's one of the coolest, like, funniest things I've seen in a while. Mark is, you know, as everybody knows, just an incredibly sharp, intelligent human being. I kid when I say it's a mockery of basketball, but yeah, it's just like one of my favorite things I've seen in a long time.
Post game, shout out to my buddy Joe Masato from the Oklahoman. Like, tried to ask him again, like, can you just like tell me more? Like, why? Like, how did you come up with this? And he's like, well, I used some creativity or something like that. It was just, I don't know. It's just too good. Okay, so we're talking about the NBA draft. There's a clear number one guy in this draft, Cooper Flagg. I want to just try to contextualize how good he is. And so I wanted to look back at like some of the best prospects of the last few years. So let's go with like Cade Cunningham, Paolo, Chet, Wemby, Scoot Henderson as prospects only, like pre-draft prospects. Where would we rank Cooper Flagg amongst those guys? Or how would you rank those guys, and where would Cooper like fall into the pecking order there?
Yeah, I have Cooper ahead of all of them except Wemby.
Wow.
The level to which Cooper has been able to problem solve basketball this season at Duke as an 18-year-old, it's almost like when you watch his first 5 minutes, 6 minutes of a game or whatever, you can see all of the information flowing into the supercomputer that is his brain. And then right around that point in the game is where you start to see him just go, okay, like, to quote the Lethal Shooter guy, I understand it now. You know what I mean? Like, he just gets it from that point forward. And he understands, okay, this is how I have to attack this guy. This is now the matchup that I'm looking for. This is what they're doing in terms of help defense and how I can attack it. The processing ability that he showcases is incredibly, incredibly high level. He's improved a ton as a shooter this year. That was the biggest concern coming into this season, was what he would look like as a shooter from distance, from mid-range. He started to show flashes of that during his last year at Montverde, but we weren't quite sure how exactly that would translate from day one within college basketball as the game speeds up and you're dealing with better athletes on a night-to-night basis. Whether or not he's dealing with better athletes on a night-to-night basis, you know, as he was in the NIBC playing at Montverde versus playing in the ACC, up for debate. The ACC is not very good this year, but they're certainly better players at the very least. People, I think, will point to like some of his performances in high-level games, and I mean, I can pull up his numbers in these high-level games and high-leverage moments, and it's just like, yeah, he's still a stud. He did have a poor moment at the end of the Kentucky game and at the end of the Kansas game. But, you know, if you look at the Kentucky game, he had 26, 11, 2, 3, and 2 against Arizona, who's a top 20 team. He had 24, 7, 3, 4, and 3 against Auburn, who, you know, is a top 3 team in the country. 22, 11, 4, and 2 blocks. Like you can go up and down the board, and it's just like, this dude is a total joke. Like, every single thing that he does is going to translate to the next level at an incredibly high level. But more than that, and this is really what I want to like end on. When you select Cooper Flagg, you are drafting like a culture and a competitive character unto itself within your organization. He doesn't take days off in practice. He doesn't take plays off during games. He is as competitive as you will find in a truly elite level prospect. He's everything that you're looking for. He's not as good as Victor Wembanyama in terms of upside as a prospect in my mind, but you know what? Like Victor's probably going to be the best player in the world as long as like the health allows it. I think Cooper's upside is to very easily be a top 5 player in the world at some point. It is hard for me to envision a world where he's not a top 25 player in the NBA. And very easy for me to envision a world where he is a top 5 to 10 player in the league.
So it sounds like you're saying he's worth all this buffoonery we're seeing from some of these teams out there. Resting all their guys might be worth it. Okay.
Not Portland. Portland's out here playing hard every night. Shout out Portland.
Shout out Portland. Sam, before we get to the other prospects, I wanted to ask you like a general question because you've been doing this for a while, and like anyone else, you've had hits and misses. When you look back at the players you missed on, are there any specific types of players or profiles that you feel like you have tended to overvalue or undervalue?
I think early on when I was doing this, I think I had a tendency to undervalue bigs that just have an incredible set of tools to work with, right? So super long arms, extreme high level athletes, real size for the NBA center position, and hands is the other thing. Like being able to catch the ball. Like that's the difference between like James Wiseman and like Clint Capella or something like that, right? Wiseman's hands are not very good, and that is what ended up kind of being the downfall of his career to this point. I think that early on I would probably underrate the hands aspect of it, and I think that I am somebody still, even I would say to this day, that unless the upside is very, very high, in my opinion, I tend to be someone who likes to draft like not 24-year-olds or 23-year-olds, but like I'm pretty comfortable drafting older and like getting value on rookie scale deals. Like I need to like really feel confident in the player, but project players with limited upside were probably something. And by limited upside, I mean like, okay, this guy can be like a regular season starting center, right? As opposed to like a guy that you feel comfortable with in the playoffs, right? I would say that is a role that I probably have consistently undervalued. And this year is interesting in that respect because there's a pretty good amount of depth in this like center class. And I'm trying to determine which of them I like, which ones I don't like. And there's a kid in, I guess he's in Ljubljana right now, which would be Slovenia, if I remember correctly. Johan Berenger, they say it 16 different ways on broadcasts. And the scouts I talked to have said it every type of different way. Beringer, Beringer is one thing they've said on broadcasts. I believe it's Beringer. He is a little bit undersized for the center position. He's like 6'10" is what I've been told to expect, but he has super long arms. He has amazing hands. Like he catches everything in his area. And catches things out of his area, catches below his waist, catches lobs above his head. But he's very young in the game. Like he's been playing basketball for like 3 years at this point. And on one side, you can see the trajectory of, oh my God, like Cedevita signed this kid this summer, expecting him to not even be on their senior team this year. Like they expected him to be on the junior team. And holy shit, like he's here, he's like playing a real role for them, starting occasionally on their senior team, a Euro Cup team that's like quite good. On one hand, you can say, okay, like the trajectory here is quite high. On another hand, you can say, okay, this is going to take a while for him to like develop the things that you need. And oh, by the way, he's still probably like 6'10". So doesn't have that like super sized center role that you expect. Where does that leave him? It's tricky. It's actually like quite hard. I would say somewhere in the first round, but there are going to be people that have him in the lottery. I've talked to NBA people that have him as like a late lottery guy. There are people who have him like end of the first, early second, and trying to figure out that balance of that for a kid that has a ton of tools, but might take a while in terms of getting up to the NBA speed.
Dylan Harper, he's largely considered the second best prospect in this draft, averaging 19, 4 and 4 for Rutgers. He's one of the few like creator guards that has size in this draft, which is like a very valuable position in the NBA. Do you think that he has like what it takes to be like the creator of a team, like a tanking team? Gets Dylan Harper, can he be like their creator? And so like what would keep him from becoming that in your mind?
The shooting off of pull-ups would probably stop him from getting there. He's just okay at that right now. Honestly, I think the numbers this year are quite bad, but in high school, like there were really, really good reps. And I think the numbers are actually pretty okay in high school if you go back and look at them. Shooting off pull-ups will be the big question though, because he's not a nuclear athlete. Where he excels is he's like excellent spatially and really understands how to navigate like tight spaces despite being as big as he is. He's excellent with like hostage dribbles, like on his left and right hips. He's excellent at being able to like kind of eat up that space, and then on his gathers be able to like maneuver around rim protectors and help defenders to be able to create real attempts at the basket, and the ability to finish at the rim at a really high level as well, despite playing on a Rutgers team this year that outside of Ace Bailey does not have a lot of talent around him. So there are a few different things to look at there. I would say, I feel quite confident with him as the second overall pick. Like I can't really see a world where he moves off of that spot for me. Do I think there's a chance he's just like a really good, like bigger guard who plays next to another star player? Yeah, I think that's like really within the cards. Like there's a real possibility of that. Do I also think there's a chance he becomes like a real all-star who's like a borderline all NBA player? I can see that pathway if he becomes a serious pull-up shooter from the mid-range area and particularly from behind the 3-point line. And kid's a great worker, comes from a great family. His mother, his father's obviously Ron Harper, but his mother is like a longtime basketball coach who, has done an amazing job, raising him, and all of the intel there is incredibly positive. So yeah, I'm definitely a big Dylan Harper fan as well.
All right, Sam, we're only 3 questions in, but it's now time for lightning round. 5 questions. The only difference is I'm going to read them slightly faster than the other questions. First question. A question I found on the NBA draft subreddit from user Manor Superb. They were asking, who is the player with a perceived weakness that you don't agree with? In other words, you don't think the weakness is as big of a deal as everyone else seems to think.
I tend to be quite hard on some of these things. So this is a hard one. Weakness that I don't think is as bad as what it is perceived to be. That's a difficult one. I'm sorry. I'm like ruining the lightning portion.
It's okay. It's okay. I feel like this is usually how the lightning round goes.
Yeah. I would say that I think Con Kneppel's defense is actually quite good, actually, at the college level.
Okay.
Now, I have questions as to whether or not it will translate to the next level at a particularly high level. But in terms of staying in front of his man, competing, rotating with anticipation, understanding what's happening around him, being a good team defender, I think Con's actually quite good on defense at Duke. Now, in the NBA, there are longer areas to traverse, longer closeouts. You're in more oceans of space, right? So shiftier guards are going to be able to potentially beat him off the bounce in straighter lines and then cause more help, and teams are going to have to rotate around Khan and try and beat him, try and help him out that way. But I actually think like Khan has a better chance to be a neutral defender than what other people I think contend at the very least. Like what I'm most worried about him with is not actually the bigger, the Lukas, the Jason Tatums, the bigger wings, right? It's actually like the smaller guards, in my opinion, that could actually like give him more problems. Like a Donovan Mitchell, I think, could give him more problems maybe than even like Luka, because Luka is just trying to like lean on you the whole time and like, use his frame to his advantage. Khan's big, he's strong, he's like 215 pounds already, he's like 6'6", he's physical, he's competitive. Like I think he'll be able to like really stand those guys up when they try to attack him. It's more the like shiftier guards that I think could catch him, and absolutely those guys will try to catch him early in his career. So I would say that is probably that's probably a good answer for that one.
So who is this year's best if he can shoot guy?
Colin Murray-Boyles, point blank. That's the easiest answer on this board.
Wow. You have him pretty high, right? He was pretty high in your recent board.
Yeah, I have him like on my board currently, like 5 or 6 right now. Like if he shoots it, he is a serious difference maker. He is a fantastic defensive player, rotates around like crazy. His anticipation is unbelievable on that end of the court. His hands are incredible. He knows how to use his length. He's like 6'6", 6'7" with a 7'2" wingspan. He like plays a lot of center for South Carolina, but I think he's mobile enough to slide down onto like the 3 and the 4 pretty easily. He can deal with switch situations on defense. Like all of these things, like he is a really, really high level defender. The question, and he can really pass. Like if you put him in short roll situations as a ball screen player, he's excellent there. If you put him on the block and like have him, pass out of that situation, he's really good there. He's just a really, really impactful player. It's just that the jump shot is not there yet. And if the jump shot comes, I mean, he's like a for sure NBA starter if the jump shot comes. Like there's like no ifs, ands, or buts. But if the jump shot is not there, it becomes like a little bit more fungible, and he really probably has to find like the right situation in order to reach that, like, being a starter kind of level.
So when you rank a prospect like that so high, are you kind of baking in to yourself that like, I think he will shoot and that's why I would take him this high? Or are you kind of just betting on everything else, and if the shooting pans out, great?
Yes. Like is the easiest way to answer that question. Like, it's kind of a combo of all of it, right? So, okay, what is the ceiling if this does come to fruition? Like if he shoots it, like, I don't think there's quite like all-star upside, but like could be a guy that like, if he's shooting it by the end of his rookie deal, like might be like a 25% max guy, like 20% max guy. Like he's a real impact player, like across the board, except for the shooting. So part of it is that for sure. Part of it is, okay, what do I think the likelihood is of him shooting? He's willing to shoot. I don't think the shot is particularly broken right now in any respect. I think that like the shot prep could probably improve a little bit. I think that like the offhand, probably needs like a little bit of adjustment, but like there's a world, like it's not impossible that he's going to shoot. Like, I'm trying to think of an example here. Like Johan Berenjay, the guy that we brought up earlier, he's taken like 3 jump shots this year. When he loads into a mid-range jumper, it takes him, probably 2 full seconds to load into the mid-range jumper.
Yeah.
And I might be exaggerating there, but like only slightly. So it's very unlikely that he's ever going to shoot. Right. But with Murray-Boyles, it's like, okay, like I can see a world where this works. Like I can see a world where we look up in 3 years and he's actually maybe not a high volume 3-point shooter, but 35% on 4 3-point attempts per game. Like, it's not out of the question. And if that happens, he's way easier to fit on the court and is like a real impact player.
All right, this next question is for our Suns fans out there. I don't know if you've been following, Sam, but they've been going through some stuff. So they've got the last pick in the first round. Who are some late first rounders that would completely fix the Phoenix Suns? Go.
So look, like, I think they need a center, right?
I agree.
And part of this is like that we don't know what direction the Suns are going to go. We assume they're probably going to continue to try and compete because they don't have many of their own picks, and Matt Ishbia seems like he wants to continue to try and do this. But it also seems like they're probably moving Kevin Durant this summer, based off of all reporting out there, right? So, how far do they contend moving Kevin Durant, right? Like, what do they move him for? How do you go about retooling the roster? That's the first question. Assuming it looks similar to what it is right now, like, Ryan Kalkbrenner makes a lot of sense to me for them. A big dude who can play in drop coverage, who can play minutes basically immediately, who is really sharp and has potential to shoot from 3 a little bit, but more than anything is just excellent with angles. He's super long. He's been one of the best defensive players in college basketball for 4 years now. Outstanding player. I mean, like, around 30, like, if Nick Clifford fell there, he'd be valuable. Janai Broom is another center that could work there. I really like JoJo Tugler. If he's in the draft, it'll be a question as whether or not
great name, JoJo Tugler, by the way. One of my favorite names in the draft.
Have you seen JoJo Tugler play yet?
I haven't, but I've just read his name and I love reading his name.
So JoJo Tugler is, I don't know, 6'7", 6'8", with a 7'6" wingspan, like something like that.
Wow. The Tug Man.
He is the best defensive player in college basketball, point blank.
Okay.
Like, no questions asked to me. I saw him play against Auburn. He like blocked a shot in help, like, and his momentum took him out of bounds, like beneath the baseline. He gets up, the offense, Alabama gets the rebound and like swings it out, twice onto the opposite wing from where he was. Gets up, Mark Sears shoots a 3. He rotates like 35 feet all the way out to Mark Sears, after blocking the shot, and blocks the jumper. And I'm like,
no way.
What in the world just happened here? Like how did he do this? It is the craziest defensive play like I have seen non-Victor Wembanyama edition in like 5 years.
Wow.
And he's unbelievable on that end. The issue is, like, from an NBA perspective, there's just like no offensive game right now. Like, it's really, really tricky to figure out what the fit is. He's a great offensive rebounder. He's, will occasionally make a 3, like here and there, not often, but it's going to take time with him on offense, but he is like,
is it like better or worse than like what Ryan Dunn was coming out of the draft?
More of like a big than what Ryan Dunn is. Like, he's more of like a true 4, whereas Dunn you could see being like a 3-4 kind of. Mm-hmm. But like JoJo Tugler this year made the like all Big 12 team, averaging 5 points and 5 rebounds a game.
Okay.
That's how good he is on defense.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Which player are you most excited to watch in the tournament other than Cooper Flagg?
Good question. I would say I want to see more Kasparas Giakoušonis. Had a great start to the year. Has had an up and down run in Big Ten play, I would say. And there have been like a few more downs, realistically. He's just not a great athlete. And that's a real concern for his NBA future. But in terms of his passing, feeling ball screens, ability to get to pull up jumpers, like all of that stuff is there. I would just like to see him continue to play against higher level like athletes that maybe aren't getting to see him night in, night out in Big Ten play, like within your own conference play, he has a chance to like take the tournament by storm. He has the chance to kind of shoot Illinois out of a game potentially if, he just has to fire from distance and he's getting like blitz on his ball screens and, he isn't able to, he's an unbelievable passer. The issue is that like nobody else on that Illinois team can really create a shot, in all honesty. So Yakashonas is the guy for me. Like he and I'll also give Jace Richardson some love here. Jace Richardson's been unbelievable to close the year for Michigan State. Jason Richardson's son, plays nothing like Jason Richardson. Like if you were to put a polar opposite player, out there, Jason was this unbelievable, incredible nuclear athlete, like 3-and-D player. Jace is this like 6'1", like Jalen Brunson-y in terms of style guard, who's just like unbelievable at navigating space on the interior and being able to get to his spots and get the floaters and finish around the rim. Really, really fun player. And the way that he came on late in the year, being more of the primary for Michigan State, who has been awesome throughout the year in the Big Ten. If he has a big tournament run, we could be talking about him as like a top 6, top 7 type player in this class for sure.
That's a great lead into the final question of the super fast lightning round. Now, Sam, you've written that some teams see the 6 to 20-ish range as pretty flat.
Yeah.
Are there any players after 6 that you feel have established themselves as being in a different tier of prospects? Has anyone escaped that flat range for you?
Not really.
No. Okay.
Not really. It's just it's an eye of the beholder situation. Like there are people who really like Trey Jones. I've talked to teams that don't really like Trey Jones, or not Trey Jones. I'm sorry, Trey Johnson from Texas, due to like the shot selection and the questions about him being able to separate. Then other teams are like, oh my God, look at his shot making and like, look at his ability to hit threes and everything like that. Like he's a guy that there's a real mix on. Jace Richardson, another guy that's, just up and down for teams. Derek Queen, unsurprisingly, he's like a 6'10" big man who is probably 245 pounds and has incredibly sweet feet, but doesn't defend really. So has like an incredible perimeter skill game with his ability to handle the ball, but anywhere from like 6 to 20 there feels right. There are just a lot of guys in that group where it's all over the map and, it could go either way.
Shooting is something that we just talk about all the time. It's become one of the most important things in the NBA, but there's like different kinds of shooting. And so I wanted to see like who like the best are these 3 categories in your opinion. So pull up, like movement shooters, and then spot up shooters. Like who's the best at each category?
Okay. So like spot shooter, I would say the guy that I trust most is actually a guy that like might go undrafted, and Kobe Brea at Kentucky. I'll pull up his numbers while I'm talking, but like the shot is just unbelievable. Like he just drills everything. It feels like to me. This year he's at 44% from 3. Last year he was at 49.8% from 3, 6 attempts per game. Like just an absolute like sniper, right? At Kentucky, like 23, 24 years old, can't really do anything else other than shoot, but is like a serious shooter. In terms of pull-up shooting, I would say that like that's actually like the one thing in this class in terms of shooting that I don't love. I think that where I'm at is like there is just a real case it might end up being Cooper by the end of it, because he's the guy that like will be the on-ball player that like will get the most reps on ball and will be able to play in that way. He's shown that he's comfortable shooting off the pull-ups to some stretch. I think the answer realistically is probably Trey Johnson from Texas, just in terms of the numbers would dictate Trey Johnson, but it's a lot of tough shots. Like it's a lot of really, really tough shots with him, and he's a talented shot maker. but I worry that he's not going to be able to separate at the NBA level because it's been hard for him to separate in college, frankly. And then off of movement, I don't even know like if the numbers would bear out that it's Con, but I would say Con Knipple just from like a balance perspective, running off of screens, knowing how to run off of screens, understanding how to curl, understanding how to flare out. Like his movement shooting ability is just like really, really special because of his balance. He is always constantly just straight up and down. You can get him the ball and he will get into his hop and he will like find his balance almost no matter what. If he's wrong footed, if he has to realign himself in midair, like he's just really, really good at finding that balance with his shot prep. So that's probably the way I would go about answering those three. But this is a class that has some shooters for sure.
So, Sam, it's almost time for the NBA playoffs, which inevitably leads to questions about whether a given prospect could have survived on the floor in the playoffs. A big man with defensive issues is usually the biggest target for this type of concern. Your most recent big board that's on The Athletic, you had Derek Queen ranked 8th. How big of a concern are his defensive issues, and what do you think about his potential defensive role in the NBA?
Extremely concerning. There's just not another way to put it. So like Maryland will like oftentimes like pre-switch him and make it so that he doesn't have to get north-south as a defender and like really come up to the level and guard. It was very similar actually to, rest in peace, like, Caleb Swanigan when he was at Purdue. Like Purdue devised the scheme where like he would call out to a teammate on the wing to go up, guard the ball screen. I'll switch on to the guy on the wing. Right. And for his part, Derek Queen is actually like a really good communicator on defense within this scheme and is like really good at making sure that like he has his teammates, in the right spots and that he's in the right spots. I think he's actually also like pretty okay laterally on defense. Like if he is in a switch situation and is guarding like a wing, he can slide his feet and like cut off that player. The problem is when you get him north-south, it's really hard, I think, for him to kind of stop his momentum and then change directions, right? So like if he's closing out onto a shooter in like a scramble situation, I think it's really hard for him to like stop and cut off a drive against him. Like that's what I worry about most with him. And then like in drop also, I don't think he's particularly long and he's only like, 6'10-ish, let's go with. So he doesn't take up a lot of space in those circumstances either. Like the best drop coverage defenders in the league, they tend to be very big because they can just extend their arms. They take up as much space as possible in the 1-on-2. It's just a very, very difficult because of where teams set ball screens in the NBA. Like there's just a lot of space to cover. And I worry that he might not be long enough to cover all of that space effectively. So concerning for me, for sure. Okay. Concerning.
Every season there's a few prospects whose situation leads them to being undervalued in the draft process. In the past, we've talked about the G League Ignite and how it wasn't a great situation for player development. Are there any players in this year's draft whose situations may be hurting them and it might even be like unfair for them in the draft process?
I'll call out a few. So Liam McNeely at Connecticut has probably been asked to create more often than he should be because they just don't have good point guard play this year. So he's asked to like kind of separate from his man occasionally and try and get downhill. And like, that's not really what he's great at. Like he's an unbelievable shooter and floor spacer and movement shooter and everything that has some ball skills, but is not like a primary creator out there. So you look at him and he's shooting 40% from the field and like 35 from 3. And it's like, well, yeah, he's shooting 39, 40% off the catch from 3. And he makes his shots off of movement. And like he's doing everything that we expected of him coming into the year. It's just that the efficiency tanks because he's like a 37% shooter or 40% shooter at the rim. When he's asked to drive and take these like leaning floaters and things like that. So he's an answer here for sure. I mean, Carter Bryant, like I love that Arizona scheme. I think Tommy Lloyd does a great job. It's just like baffling to me that like he doesn't play as much as is humanly possible. Like all of the numbers dictate that Carter Bryant should be on the court for them. Like they are a drastically better team when Carter Bryant is on the court. I'll pull up the numbers kind of while we're talking, but you could look at any of the numbers and it's just like so abundantly clear. They are, a plus 9.2 in the minutes where Carter Bryant is out there, and all of their starting lineup is in the negatives in terms of their on-off rating. So, him and Henri Vesar, like who are currently, as I look at this, I believe, 6th and 7th in minutes played for Arizona this year, like have been two really, really impactful players ahead of guys like Trey Townsend and, some of the other guys. Townsend stands out to me, but, Awaka this year is another one that hasn't been like wildly impressive to me. So I look at them and I'm like, okay, like Carter Bryant's probably capable of a little bit more than what we've seen this year. It's just that he has kind of been held back by the role as much as anything.
All right, Sam, it's our final question. The draft comp market is heating up. Everyone is comparing their favorite prospect to a really good NBA player they like. I'm going to run some draft comps by you that I found online. And I want to know how good or bad these draft comps are and why. I did not come up with any of these. I went to well-known draft websites. I went to Reddit. I went to Quora. And I'm going to give you these draft comps and you're going to tell us what you think. So the first one up, Dylan Harper, James Harden.
I mean, again, like what I said earlier, that like Harper's question is the pull-up shooting, and James is like an incredible pull-up shooter. So
that sounds like a bad one.
I understand what they're going for physically there. 6'5", big, physical, understands like how to navigate spaces. I don't think that Harper has quite the natural deceleration that James does. So, not quite for me, but I at least like understand, bigger lefty guard vibes.
Okay.
Next one. One of my favorite guys in the draft, VJ Edgecombe and Jalen Green.
Not even close. Yeah. VJ is, like Jalen Green's more of a like on ball player. VJ is, like struggles with his left hand right now. Not really like a creator at the moment. Athletically, I get the comp, but, I think Jalen might even be a little bit bigger than VJ is. We'll see what VJ measures at, but VJ is an unbelievable defender, like for the guard position and for his size. Like he is awesome on that end. He really flies around. He's very active with his hands. He's aggressive. Like, Jalen has never really shown an inclination to do that consistently throughout his career. So that one doesn't really work for me at all.
Here's a very popular one. Igor Demon and Josh Giddey.
Yeah. So Jaeger, unfortunately, has not found a way to score within college basketball. I actually think Josh is like a little bit ahead of him in that respect, in terms of like being able to get to his spots as a scorer. I think Jaeger is actually like probably a little bit better of an athlete than Josh. The shooting is probably somewhat similar, I guess, like in terms of where they are. Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're going for there. I can pick up what you're putting down, because Jaeger is like 100% the best defender, or not best defender, best passer in this class. Like some of the looks he finds are incredible and very Josh-like in terms of being able to, live dribble, throw the ball from like underneath a defender's arm out to like the cross wing, and you're just like, what the just happened? Like how did that just work? But the ability to get to the rim consistently, I actually think that Josh is a little bit ahead of Jaeger in terms of like getting paint touches, and frankly like his pacing and ball screens a little bit too. Josh is really sharp in the way that he uses his pacing, even though he's not a great athlete. There are teams out there that still love Jaeger, though. I can definitely assure you of that. And it's not impossible he goes in the lottery regardless.
Another slob wizard out there, and his name is Jaeger. Okay, next one. Jace Richardson and Kaysen Wallace.
Yeah, no, not really for me.
No.
We almost got you there.
I know.
Yeah.
Almost had you.
It's more that like Kaysen was a killer on defense. Like Jace is okay on defense. He's a little slower.
Yeah.
Like Kaysen's like really like his ability to slide and stride laterally, like it's pretty sick. Like he's really good at that. Jace isn't quite that, but and Jace is like more of like a driver to the rim and like likes to get into that like within 6 foot range. Kaysen was always a little bit more of like a pull up from the mid range, like take threes kind of player. So yeah, stylistically, not even really the same to me.
Okay, final one. Ace Bailey and Rashard Lewis.
Don't mind this one actually.
Okay.
I think Rashard as an athlete was a little bit stiffer even than like what Ace is. I think that Rashard, it's interesting because like Ace really elevates into his jumper. Rashard just had like the crazy high release point. So like maybe like similar in terms of like effective release point. Not really like like Ace is not flexible is the thing. Like that's what worries me about like him getting the most out of his athleticism. In terms of like they're different in terms of athleticism, but like functional role on the court, I don't mind that one. Like that feels plausible to me in terms of an outcome for Ace, but Ace is a ways away on defense too, in terms of like being an impact guy on that end. He has the tools to be an impact guy on that end. And he has flash plays where like he switches and he makes these like crazy scramble rotations and things like that. And you're like, oh, I can see the vision, but it's going to take a minute for sure there too.
Well, Sam, thank you for answering all of our draft questions. It is now time to play Andrew versus the Beat, NBA Draft Edition. Now, Sam, you've played this before. I always try to do something special when Sam comes. So instead of having the numbers 1 through 8, each question is actually going to correspond to a draft. So the last time you were here, all the questions were about the 2024 draft, okay? So we're going to do the 2016 through 2023 draft. So every question corresponds to one of those drafts. So here's the little card I have. You pick a year for one of those drafts. It will correspond to a question about that draft. And the answer will be at least one of the players from that draft class. So if you feel really confident, like, oh, I really know this draft, you might go with that year over another one. So Sam, to start us off, you just have to pick a draft year.
Let's go 23. Why not?
23. Victor Wembanyama leads his draft class in 3 of the 5 major counting stats: total points, rebounds, and blocks. The only 2 counting stats for which Wemby does not lead his draft class are assists and steals. Who are the leaders from the 2023 draft class for assists and steals? And you get 1 point per correct answer.
I'm going to guess assists.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking totals, right?
Total assists,
not per game.
Correct.
Okay.
Total assist.
I'm like trying to do math in my head in terms of like guys that have missed games. Like I'm gonna guess Scoot is first in assists.
That is incorrect. Andrew, you have a chance to steal, and you can steal 2 points, Andrew, if you can tell me who leads the 23 draft class in assists and who leads it in steals. 2 different names.
This is hard.
This is extremely difficult.
I would say it's pretty easy. Now, I am looking at the answers, but in my opinion, pretty easy.
I have a couple of ideas. So there's 2 guys that I'm like struggling with because
you can say
I'll
that
say
loud.
Kaysen Wallace. I'll say Kaysen Wallace for steals, but There's so many guys that it could be though, but I think it is Kaysen.
Andrew, that is correct for 1 point.
For what it's worth, I probably would have said Kamara for steals, so I wouldn't even have been right there.
I was like Kamara, like the Thompson twins. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of steals guys.
Asar has missed too many games, though. Is kind of the issue there.
Yeah,
true.
True. Any guesses for assists, Andrew? You could steal another point.
What about? God, this doesn't feel right. I feel like Scoot probably has more than this guy. What else would it be? What about Keontae?
It is Keontae George. That is correct.
Was my second guess.
Another point. Yeah. Andrew, great start. And the board is yours. You have a question, Sam?
How close was Scoot here?
How close was Scoot?
It has to be like very close, I feel like.
That's who I thought it was too, honestly.
Folks, let's look it up. Where does Scoot rank? I'm on StatHead right now. By the way, I should talk about StatHead more because I couldn't do this without StatHead. And it's a great service. And if you're a student, you can get a discount on it, and it's cheap. It's only $5 a month. I'm trying to look this up.
Shout out StatHead
right now.
Fill time. Okay, here we go. Are we ready? Get results. You guys can't see it. The little wheel's going around, and we're going to go sort by assists. And I did the wrong year. Okay, so Andrew, while you're thinking of the next question, what year would you like?
I'll go 22.
22. Great selection, Andrew. And get results. Here we go. All right. Total assists, Keontae George, 645. Scoot Henderson, 634. Oh, boy. He might have passed him by the end of this week by the time this airs. Who knows? We'll have another controversy on our hands.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay,
wow.
Andrew.
That was close. I feel better about that.
Good. Andrew, you said 22. Despite
22.
his down shooting year this season, Keegan Murray has a comfortable lead for most three-pointers made among the 2022 draft class, having hit 506 compared to 333 for the second-ranked player. Who is ranked number 2 and 3 in three-pointers made for the 2022 draft class? And you get 1 point per correct answer. Oh, most threes, number 2, number 3.
J-Dub?
That is incorrect. Sam, you could steal 2 points here.
Okay.
Man.
So, like, Jabari Smith has just played a lot. So I'm going to say, oh, wait. So like where I'm thrown here is, again, the games played, right? Because Mathurin missed like a pretty, like, I guess like Jabari. I'm going to say Mathurin actually here. Mathurin. Final answer.
Sam, that is incorrect. He is number 8th on the list. Number 7, Paulo. Number 6, Julian Champagny. Number 5, Shaden Sharp. Number 4, J-Dub. Number 3, Jaden Ivey. Number 2, Jabari Smith Jr. Isn't that crazy? Jaden Ivey? I know, that surprised me. That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And he's got a healthy lead, I would say, on J-Dub. J-Dub will probably catch him by the end of the season. But okay, Sam, the board is yours.
Wow.
21. Let's just go in order.
21. Who is the only player who ranks top 5 in the 2021 draft class for total points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks?
Okay, so 21.
21.
Okay. So that's a fun draft. That is
very fun.
I'm going to guess Franz.
Franz Wagner?
Yeah.
Or a different Franz?
Franz Wagner is my answer.
Franz
that
Ferdinand.
Is incorrect.
Really?
Andrew?
Say it again. Say it one more time.
There's one player in the 2021 draft who is top 5 in total points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. Who is that player?
Is it Jalen Johnson?
That is also incorrect.
So can I give you my second guess here?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, obviously for no points, but like my second guess would actually be Josh Giddey here.
That is also incorrect.
Okay.
Scotty?
Also incorrect.
He's missed a lot
Why
of
are
time.
we so bad at this? Yeah, he's missed a lot of time. Trey Murphy?
Actually, you know what? There are 2. Scotty Barnes is one. I just missed him the first time. So there are actually 2. You guys could have gotten 2.
So
wow.
it's Alperin is the other one.
Shingun. Shingun was the one I would.
Alpi.
Yeah, Franz doesn't
Wow.
have the blocks. Franz is 15th in blocks. He was very close in assists. He was 6th in assists. Otherwise, was top 5 and everything.
Wow.
Okay, Andrew, board is yours.
Let's just keep going down the list. 20.
Keep on rocking.
The hardest question.
This is the hardest question, Andrew, in my opinion. Although, I guess they've all been pretty tough. There are 4 players from the 2020 draft who were drafted in the first round, have played in at least one NBA game this season, and have also played for at least 3 NBA franchises. Who are they? 1 point per correct answer. You could get 4 points here, Andrew. This is a big one.
This is
So 2020 first rounders. They've already played for at least 3 NBA franchises, and they've played at least one game this season.
This is such a goofy question. Is you said 3 franchises? Is that what you said?
At least.
At least. Jalen Smith comes to mind.
That is correct. Jalen Smith.
That's a good answer.
Good answer.
Yep.
Good answer. Good answer.
What about I don't know if he's played. Has he played for that many teams? It's a lot of teams to play for in that short amount of time. Shoot. Also, James Wiseman.
That is correct. For another
Okay.
point. Any other guesses? Andrew?
First rounder. He's played for 3 franchises. Poco only played for 2. RIP.
That's true. Should have played for all of them.
Should have played for every single one. Everyone should have experienced the joy of a guy like Poku who has his
That's
own
true.
fanny packs. What about Malachi Flynn?
Oh, wow, Andrew.
That's a good
That's
answer.
correct.
That's the
Can
one
you
I
get
was
the
hoping
last
to get
one?
on the steal.
Wow. I did not think anyone was good because he just started playing for the Hornets.
I know,
Like, he
that's-
just played
yeah.
the last like 5
That's
games.
the reason I thought of it
Yeah.
immediately. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm down to 2 names.
Andrew, can you sweep this? Can you get the final name?
I don't know. This is a fun class. There's a lot of really good players in that class.
Yeah.
Daniel Turu.
That is-
I was just naming fun players from the class.
God, this is really tough because there's a lot of guys that have played for 2 teams. I'm trying to think of the guys that have played for more than that. I don't know if he's I don't know if he's even played this year. I have not seen him play this year. But did Kyra Lewis play for anybody this year?
He
play
did
for that many
not.
teams?
He did
Okay.
not. Andrew. Sam,
Okay.
you could steal
That's
a
all I
point.
got.
Okay, so the one that I know is Precious because
That is
Precious is Miami, Toronto to New York this year.
Yeah. Well, who was the other one you were thinking?
Killian Hayes.
Oh, you know what?
Killian.
No, he's only played at Detroit and Brooklyn.
Has he? Okay.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I'm glad, I guess. I knew Precious was right. I thought Killian.
Had you had dreams about
Got
Killian
a
playing
bit
on
of
another
time.
team?
I tend not to dream about Killian Hayes, unfortunately.
All right, Sam, the comeback starts now.
Just go to.
Was there another
let's go
answer to that? Was there another player?
No, that was you got all 4.
That's
yeah,
4.
3
Yeah.
plus precious.
Okay.
Let's go 19. I'm into it.
The 2019 draft is remembered for its top 2 picks who have struggled to stay on the court. In fact, Ja and Zion are not in the top 20 in their draft class for most games played. Who has played the most games from the 2019 draft?
Okay, so I'm like thinking through like injuries now. So RJ has had like a couple of random ones, not like big deals, but like a couple of things that have stopped him. Jordan Poole wasn't up immediately with Golden State, so like I don't think it's him. DeAndre Hunter's missed time. Darius Garland missed a bunch last year with the jaw injury.
Jaw draft, jaw injury.
True. Okay, I think I'm down to like 2 guys.
Ooh, okay.
I'm gonna say the only reason I'm saying this guy is I can't remember him being hurt.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Kobe White.
Sam, that is absolutely correct for 2 points.
Wow.
So I was down to him. I was down to him and PJ Washington.
So the top 5 is Kobe White, Jordan Poole, who you mentioned. He's number 2. Terrence Mann, Naz Reid, and then RJ Barrett is number 5.
Okay.
Wow.
All right, we got a game on our hands.
PJ's like not even in there. Okay, interesting.
He wasn't. Yeah, I don't know where he was. He has played a lot of games though.
Yeah.
Andrew.
Let's go 18.
18. The 2018 draft was a loaded draft featuring 5 multi-time All-Stars. Outside of those All-Stars, who has the highest career BPM in the class? And as a hint, this player also leads the class in win shares per 48. Who's that player? So it's not one of the 5 All-Stars from the draft class.
Not one of the All-Stars.
It's one of the other guys.
Who would that be? Such a great class. Just making all the Mavs fans just sick to their stomachs, though. They had the league locked down with this class. Unbelievable.
Yeah, my first draft on this question was all about Luka, and I decided to change it. I've done enough. I've said enough to the Mavs fans.
Done enough damage. There's like a couple guys that I just like kind of stick out, but I don't know if they would lead in win shares. I don't know. I'll say Mikal Bridges, but I just don't feel like that's right.
No.
That is incorrect. Sam, you have a chance to steal.
Because like win shares is like super heavy into like box score stuff. So So the 2 names that like immediately came to mind were Mitchell Robinson and Rob Williams.
Okay.
And the only reason for that is that, again, like knowing the formula, like baselines of like the formulas there, like it tends to be like bigs tend to do well there. I'm going to guess that because of the assists, it's probably Rob Williams over Mitchell. I'm going to say, the advanced numbers love Rob Williams. Rob Williams is my guess.
That is correct, Sam. You get the point. Great job.
That was lucky, like based on just like a vague understanding of what goes into those things and disagreeing with it strongly.
BPM loves when centers get assists. Big fans of it.
Very true.
Okay, we have a game on our hands, fellas. It is 5-4. 2 questions left. Sam, where would you like to go?
Let's just go 17.
All right. From the 2017 draft class, we're going to name the top 10 players in career points. So how this works is Sam will give an answer, then Andrew will give an answer, and we'll go back and forth till one of you stumbles. So these are all players from the 2017 draft class ranked by how many career points they have scored, and we're doing the top 10. You can name anyone in the list. So Sam, who would you like to start off with?
Tatum has to be.
Tatum is number 1 on the list. Andrew.
Wow. De'Aaron Fox.
De'Aaron Fox is number 3 on the list. Back to Sam.
That's Mitchell is probably the other guy in between them, I would guess.
Donovan Mitchell is number 2 on the list. Back to Andrew.
Oh, man.
You sounded so sad, Andrew. We're having a fun time here. You're over there heavy sighing.
Bam.
Bam Adebayo. He is number 5 on the list.
Okay. Lowry has to be on this list.
Larry Markkinen. He is number 6 on the list. Back to Andrew.
Wow.
So we got 7, 8, 9, 10, and then number 4.
7, 8, 9, 10, and number 4. What about Kuz?
Kyle Kuzma, number 4 on the list.
Okay.
Back to Sam. So you guys have gotten the top 6. Perfect.
Okay, now we're just going like box score hunting. John Collins, probably.
John Collins is number 7 on the list. Ooh, 8, 9, 10 are left. Andrew, who are you going to guess?
Oh, no. What about OG? I don't know if
OG is not on the list, Andrew, which means Sam gets the points. And it means that going into the final question, Sam has a 1-point lead. It is 6-5. And the way this final question sets up, whoever gets it wins.
Yeah, can I try and run through the rest of this real quick?
Malik Monk.
Malik Monk was number 10.
Dang
so,
it.
My next guess was probably Derek White after Malik Monk.
I think he was number 11.
Okay, and then I would guess like Dylan Brooks, Jarrett Allen.
That's it.
Like
8, 9.
Okay,
Jarrett Allen was 8. Dylan Brooks 9. Yeah.
Josh Hart would be somewhere here. Like just kind of trying.
OG was like 13 or something. He was close.
Okay.
Yeah.
He just missed too much time.
Okay, so Andrew, you get first stab at this question. We'll see.
This is beautiful.
This is great, and you guys can't tie.
This is theater.
Somebody's going to win right here. The question from the 2016 draft: how many combined career 3-pointers do Jakob Poeltl and Ivica Zubac have? Now, Andrew, you get to choose who answers first. You can make Sam answer first, and then you go higher or lower. Or you can answer first, and Sam can go higher or lower.
Wait.
Combined career 3-pointers for Jakob Poeltl and Ivica Zubac. That's how this is going to end.
This is amazing. I love this so much, Al.
Ivica Zubac and Jakob Poeltl
combined. Okay. They combined their forces from 3-point. No, this is made 3-pointers.
Made. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The problem is like I can't imagine Zubac taking a 3, let alone or Jakob taking a 3. It just had to have happened on accident. I won't take the cowardly way out. I'm going to come up with a number, but I'm trying to think of one that is even remotely okay to say out loud. This is
amazing.
Of the Slam and Jammers.
Al, Al, I love this so much.
Hey,
you've done great.
Shout out. Hey, I couldn't do it without you guys going in order, because otherwise this wouldn't have been the last question.
That's true.
I appreciate you going in order.
That's true.
Also, just like shout out to Al for this amazing structure. Instead of going with the number system, going with the number of like the year of the draft. Really,
this
really
is very
good.
fun.
Yeah,
this is very fun.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to buy you time, Andrew.
Okay.
Andrew, all you have to think of is a number.
I know. I'm just trying to see if I have the courage to
Are you
say
trying
the
to
number
remember
that I'm
your
thinking.
numbers?
I'm just trying to remember. No, I'm just trying to think. Okay, I'm going to say it. I think I'm just going to say 1.
Okay. Andrew's going to say 1. Sam, would you like to go higher or lower? So lower, you either think it's 0. Higher, you think it's anything higher than 1. But Andrew could have gotten exactly correct.
Yeah, I'm going to say over for sure. It just feels like the right thing to do.
So Jakob Poeltl and Ivica Zubac over their careers have combined to hit 3 3-pointers, which means Sam wins the week 7-5. Andrew, were you ever thinking about 3? You ever thinking about the number 3?
I was just thinking, I was actually trying to nail the number. I just thought maybe they only made 1.
I think my number.
I just still can't. I can't imagine them taking a 3. Like I really can't.
Yeah. I think my number would have been 4 for what it's worth.
Yeah.
But that might have been too high. Like you automatically just go under on that, right?
I would have gone under. There's just like no way. I just thought like maybe like Jakob made like a heave once, and then
I will say
Zubac
have they
didn't
both
take a 3.
made 3s? Like
yeah. Zubac has made 1 and Poeltl has made 2, and that was without me checking their playoff stats. Oh my gosh, this could have been a huge controversy. Luckily, they didn't hit any in the playoffs. Although Jakob Poeltl did have 1 3-point attempt in the playoffs.
It's gotta be a heave.
Wow. It has to be. It has to be. Hey, go read Sam Vecenie at The Athletic and go listen to the Game Theory podcast, and also go subscribe on YouTube to the Game Theory podcast. Sam, anything else that you'd like to plug before you go?
I have rookie rankings that are probably out by now by the time this goes up. Go read those on The Athletic. Yeah, I'll have stuff coming. I'm like in the middle of draft guide season right now. I'm like trying to get ahead of that. So I'm through like, 25 of those, 30 profiles. So
nice.
The goal is for you guys to have it earlier this year, whether or not that's possible. We'll see. Who knows? Could be a miracle, but we shall see.
That would be amazing. Sam, thanks again for coming on, and we will talk to you guys again next week.